Hello there, and many thanks for joining us on the program People, Politics and Power. I am Imonia Marere. It is the season of politics and electioneering in Nigeria, but what has been dominating the headlines in the last couple of weeks is the humanitarian disaster brought about by the widespread floods across the country. Nigeria, like several other countries, is in the throes of ravaging floods which have devastated many communities, caused hundreds of deaths, and ruined economic life. From the north, through the middle belt, down to the south, it has been one tale of woe or another. Houses, farmlands, livestock, and entire livelihoods have been submerged and or destroyed. As at the last count, the federal government has confirmed that 33 out of Nigeria's 36 states have been severely impacted. About 100,000 houses are said to have been destroyed so far, while about 2 million people have been displaced. Now, to be sure, it was a humanitarian disaster foretold, as NIMET, the Nigerian Meteorological Agency, predicted and warned of the floods long before the heavy rains started. It had urged governments at all levels at the time, as well as individuals, to prepare and brace up for the consequential flooding. But as usual with Nigeria and Nigerians, the warning and admonitions were disregarded. No one, not even state governments, felt concerned enough until it was too late. Not even the sad memories and experiences of the 2012 flooding was drawn up to guide responses this time around. The result is the untold hardships that have been wrought on the economy, communities, and families across the country. Food and other commodities production have been adversely affected, and it could get much worse. Road infrastructure have been washed away in some parts, and movement of goods and services have been impeded. The immediate cause is blamed on the release of water from Lagdo Dam in neighboring Cameroon, but there has also been increased rainfall in many parts of the country, as earlier predicted by NIMET. And on a more global scale, climate change is fingered as the ultimate cause, a phenomenon that we have discussed many times on this program. Now, the pains, the cost, and possible mitigation of the current flood situation in Nigeria is our focus on this edition of the program. And our guests are already with us in the studio. First, from my immediate left is Mr. Clement Nze. He is a Director General, Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Also joining us is Dr. Jones Ozuzu. Dr. Ozuzu is the National President, Nigerian Commercial Farmers Association, and a founding member of All Farmers Association of Nigeria. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much
for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, we'll be joined virtually online very shortly by Benro Olajuigbe. Mr. Olajuigbe is of the civil society organization called Emergency Alert. He will be joining us virtually from Lagos. Well, let's go on a short break. When we return, we'll be diving straight into our discussion on the flood situation in Nigeria.
Today, 2,504,095 persons, those that have been affected nationwide. And number of displaced persons nationwide are 1,302,589. Number of deaths, 603. So we are calling on all the respective state governments, local governments, and communities to prepare by evacuating people living on flood plains to high grounds, providing tents and relief materials, fresh water, as well as medical supply for possible outbreak of waterborne diseases. We have also deployed our team to assist, and we have also deployed relief items.
All right, there you heard the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs giving an update on the situation, the humanitarian crisis that flooding has brought upon the country, its citizens, and of course, infrastructure around about 33 states out of Nigeria's 36 states. In other words, it is very pervasive and it is widespread. Let me welcome again Mr. Clement Nze, who is the Director General of Nigeria Hydrological Services, and he's joined by Dr. Jones Ozuzu, who is the National President, Nigerian Commercial Farmers Association. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Mr. Nze, let's begin this way. There were early warning signals about the floods that we are now experiencing in very many parts of the country. In fact, in some communities, most houses and farmlands have gone under the floods, and that will take quite a while for them to recover. In fact, in a state like Bayelsa State, the governor has been crying out loud, asking for federal government's intervention to save the situation. Now, if there was these early warning signals put out by NIMED, by your agency, and other environmental agencies, why do you think that governments at every level, federal, state, local government, did not take it serious?
Thank you, and hello, Nigerians. I think let me start by correcting a little issue in the introduction. The Nigerian Meteorological Agency, NIMED, which is a sister, who collaborate at a very high level in Nigeria and outside Nigeria, did the prediction of what they call seasonal climate prediction, which they presented in February. It's telling you the normal and above normal rainfall in some locations. But thereafter, my own agency, the Nigerian Hydrological Service Agency, made public its own predictions that tells you the flood scenarios when the flood season commences. We do it every year. So in our prediction that was made available or public by the Honorable Minister of Water Resources, we stated that not less than 32 states and 233 LGAs will be heavily impacted in the course of the year. The details were communicated to the governors by the Honorable Minister of Water Resources, Engineer Suleiman Adamu, in writing, stating the specific LGAs in each state for that particular governor, each governor. We detailed all this and they were made available. So it was nicer, the Nigerian Hydrological Service Agency, that spoke extensively about flooding, giving some graphics, what is likely to happen. Now, having said that, at the federal level, that way you have the forecasting agencies, predicting agencies that are at work. The Nigerian Meteorological Agency came on air to tell us this is the amount of rainfall we're expecting this year, and it is going to be above normal for several locations as against the previous years. That we should be expecting above normal rainfall in the year 2022. By the time they did it, there was no rains yet, February 15th. And following after, the Nigerian Hydrological Service Agency came up with its own prediction, translating some of what NIMED said and using other parameters, using our modeling tools, considering the geology of Nigeria, the topography, all kinds of parameters we are used. River system, which we gauge across the country, we came up with the flooding. But That's at the federal level. It is advisory. Whatever we are saying, NIMET is saying, NISA is saying, it is advisory to the state governments. It is expected that the state government that have various tools, agencies at their own levels to go to work. The kind of, if I may use the word, permit me to say, the kind of drama we are seeing today in all the affected states, nothing like that was done when they received advisories. Each state has its own state emergency management agency, town planning authorities, ministries of environment and water resources that are empowered by the regulations in their states to save the environment. What did they do at that time? We hate having this cycle every year that at a time like this again, we will come together, we'll be talking. So the federal level, where the forecasting, prediction were done, did their work, disseminated the same to the state governments, who also have their machineries of communication. Like very soon, it has already been kicked off, campaign here and there, politics. We expect that similar energy should be devoted to the grassroots to tell them, this is the prediction, be prepared. These are the things as have been itemized by our agency that should be done ahead of time. Please, let's begin to do them. But at the end of the day, nothing happens. Like now, the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs says 603 people have died. No matter how much we give by way of relief materials, it can't bring back any life. We know what happened in Abuja for about 2 weeks now, the gridlock on Lokoja, that PMS couldn't come to Abuja. Some animals, people carrying their cows or nama, many of them died on the road because they were at that spot for days. So we don't want to be seeing the kind of drama at this season. Let there be action between December, January, February, March every year by way of addressing our environmental problems so as to run away from the flood issues in Nigeria.
In other words, the agencies did what was required of them.
Exactly.
They did their forecasts, they gave out their predictions and transmitted this to all the state and local governments. But the lack of political will to do that which is right is what has put us where we are today.
Exactly.
All right, Dr. Zuzu.
Yes.
You are a farmer and you represent farmers.
Yes.
These prediction and these forecasts must also have been sent to your association and to your members when it was put out there. What steps, because very many farmlands have also been submerged, have been washed away.
Yes.
And there is a fear of food insecurity in the months ahead. What steps did you take?
Yes, thank you very much. I'm happy to be here, and it's a pleasure. As we know, Lapto Dam in Cameroon is the culprit. Apart from the general climate change that everybody is talking about, the agreement with the Nigerian and Cameroon was to do breakers along the River Niger and Benue, but we failed to do that. Now, in all these areas, farmers have their crops, and as I'm telling you now, I don't know how 2003 will look like. There will be famine.
2023, you mean?
Yes, 2023. There will be shortage of food because all the farms land along the riverbank is washed away. Is washed away. For example, in Nasarawa State, almost about 1,500 hectares of rice land was washed away. All the farms along the Benue River plain washed away. In Lokoja, the same thing. In Uguta, the same thing. In Ebema, the same thing. In Ahoda, the same thing. In Onitsha, in Anambra, the same thing. Anambra, Obaru. And washing away the farms, taking away people's life. So this year's is very, 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 is very, 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 very sad. is very, very sad. The Nigerian government, the Nigerian government is not doing what it's supposed to do. Like, they have been informed for us to do what was done in Mississippi. What was done in Mississippi, there's something called levees, which mostly used along the Mississippi River, particularly in the state of New Orleans, which is used to block the overflow of the Mississippi River in the towns along the tributaries. So we expect such things to happen in Nigeria. It's not done. So it's quite unfortunate that...
Is everything at the doorsteps of government? What, as individuals, were there steps you took on your own, having received the prediction and the warnings from the relevant government agencies?
Yes. We on our own, we did what we were supposed to do, but we never expected such that it will come to that magnitude. We never expected it.
The DG just said that in their own prediction, which was circulated very widely, they said at least 32 states out of Nigeria's 36 states will be affected. The number of local, and they went ahead to pinpoint the exact locations and local government that will be affected. Now we are talking of 33 states out of Nigeria's 36 states. So there was information. Information was put out there.
Yes.
But nobody seemed to have acted on it.
You see, yes. You see, like as I said, we didn't know that it will come to that extent. And these farmers, it's a habitual thing. It's a habitual thing that, they have their place of farm every year. So they have no choice than to farm where they normally farm. So the government did not help the farmers as such.
Well, what were the farmers expecting government to actually do in this instance?
Yes. What we expected the government to do is to really equip these farmers to relocate, these farmers. Like in the south, we have problem of stumping. We have a lot of forests, and for the machineries for the tractors to work in these farms, there have to be some level of works to be done in this farm for the farmers to be involved. So, the farmers are handicapped. They are not properly equipped. Whatever we are doing it on our own. We are doing it on our own. No help, no assistance whatsoever. It's bad. It's bad. It's bad.
DG, whatever information you put out there earlier in the year was science-based. Correct. But we also live in a society where there's a lot of spiritual and traditional interpretation of some of these occurrences. It does appear that we have not come to terms and have not come to grasp with the scientific interpretation of these predictions, that this will happen when this takes place and all of that. So how much is your organization and similar sister organizations doing to properly educate Nigerian government officials and Nigerian farmers?
Thank you so much. What we do is purely science. The modelings we do using data we have had over the decades, and then measurements all over the place. When it is done, that aspect is like somebody who has gone to cook food for people to eat. What we serve the public is the outcome of what we have done behind the scene, which is highly scientific, understood by the people who belong to that circle. Then the document we turn out to the public is mere, rudiments of English language or use other dialects we have, the three major languages in Nigeria. So there's nothing complicated in the communication of the product we have with regard to flooding. The challenge we keep having is maybe the belief that this will not happen, it won't come. So somebody will say, it's not my portion, it can't happen to me. But in developed climes, even within Africa too, you wake up in the morning to go out, you watch out for the weather advisories. Is it going to rain? If you get it in your phone, even through the television, they give you advice. Which route will I take? Is that going to be snow? Do I go out with my umbrella? But here in Nigeria, I think we are yet to come to terms with the facts that we need to adhere to these predictions. Again, the issue of climate change is a reality. I'm a way to define with my friend here, Doc. What happened here, what happened in Nigeria, because I have the figures, we have the facts, and over the years we have them. Now, after the 2012 flood incident, the Nigerian government began to talk with the Cameroon with regards to this Benue sub-basin. Nigeria is downstream of all the riparian states, countries. It was not until 2016 that President Biya came to Nigeria, Cameroonian president came to Nigeria, I met with His Excellency Muhammad Buhari, GCFR, and the memorandum of understanding was signed between the two countries, majorly because of two infrastructures or two structures in Cameroon. One is Lake Nyos, which in 1986 exploded in August, and then threw up so many poisonous gases into the atmosphere, and eventually, which flew into river Katsina in Nigeria. Thousands of animals died, and human beings also died. That is one structure in Cameroon that affects Nigeria. Because of that, we built Kashibila Dam on River Katsina. In the event that happens again, that dam will handle it. Then the other structure of interest to Nigeria is Lado Dam in Cameroon. So the MOU signed by the two presidents, we are centered around this. That whenever Cameroon is to do anything on that, to release water from the dam, they should notify Nigeria. They didn't do it in 2012 anyway. Even after signing the MOU in 2016, the next time they released water was in 2019. They didn't inform Nigeria about the release of water. And again, this year, we began to have casualties all over the state. States that are not located within rivers Niger and Benue, environment. Like Jigawa State, many people died. Yobe, outside the basin of rivers Niger and Benue. So I began to communicate with them to find out, are you going to release water this year in 2022? They say if I thought they would do that, they will notify Nigeria. Then unfortunately, when I called them on Wednesday, 14th of September, they just informed me, we opened our dam yesterday, being 13th of September, that the dam was open. But I have to put on record that what caused the devastation within Nigeria wasn't from the water from that side. Mm-hmm. We experienced heavy rainfall in Nigeria. For instance, in Jigawa, I keep using this as an example. I was on the studio like this with the deputy governor. He mentioned that a particular place in Jigawa State, for the past 54 years, they never experienced that amount of rainfall. So what we had this year is high rainfall intensity of long duration, or even for shorter duration. That the amount of rainfall you're supposed to experience in a year, for about maybe 5 months of rainfall in a particular location, or 6 months, you got it in a week. That amount of rainfall. The earth cannot drink it. But if it is spread over months, it will tapa. It will just go without it being noticed. So climate change aggravated it in Nigeria. And then the anthropogenic activities of man, building within the flood plains, blockage of drainages, and several things we do as human beings. So this aggravated it, not necessarily release of water. For instance, Jigawa, nothing concerns Jigawa with River Benue. Nothing concerns Yobe, Borno with River Benue, or even River Niger. It doesn't concern It doesn't come to that side. But the water released from River Benue, if we look at it, before the flood, it gets to Yola, it has attenuated. I mean, it has a bit, tapered, reduced drastically. So it was mainly local rainfall that happened in Nigeria that caused what we have.
So the release of water from the Lagdo Dam was not the primary source of this flood.
Please, we have
because I also recall that in 1977, when Nigeria entered that agreement with Cameroon over the Lagdo Dam, there was an arrangement to construct a breaker dam. Something like a breaker dam was referred to as a Dasin Hausa Dam in Adamawa State.
Yes.
But since that time, that dam has never been constructed or completed to prevent the volume of water that is released from the Lagdo Dam.
See, that was the fault of the government of that time. Cameroon began theirs from 1977 and finished in 1982. I think it's about 7.6 billion cubic meters of water. That's the reservoir capacity. Nigeria designed theirs. That's a Hausa Dam in Fufure local government in Adamawa State. It's about 2.5 times the capacity of Cameroonian own. But when resources were there, I wouldn't know what was the judgment that the government of that time, between 1977 and 1982, couldn't build a dam. That's a Hausa Dam in Adamawa. But the current government, the leadership of the Federal Ministry of Water Resources, under Engineer Suleiman Adamu, that design, which we should know, will no longer be tenable after over 40 years or 45 years. So it is being redesigned. There's a consultant has been engaged to redesign that what had been done before, and then see how we can take it from there. But I believe if that dam had been built at that time, it could have been much easier. Today we know what is happening globally in terms of resources available, even to us as a nation. All of us are all the issues are within the public domain that we embark on that. But what I believe in been saying is we can build. Nigeria doesn't have enough dams. We can still build other dams within River Benue Basin in Nigerian catchment. Rivers Donga, Taraba, Gongola, they contribute heavily into the River Benue channel. If you put dams like we have that of Kashimbila Dam in Kasenala River, Kasenala River contributes about 26% of the volume of River Benue. So we can use it to regulate what is happening in River Benue. So we can put dams, small dams on Gongola River, Taraba, Donga, and so on and so forth. We can reduce what is coming to the main channel of River Benue. Just as we have Kainji and Jeba dams on River Niger.
Now, Dr. Jones, what this implies is that for so long we have resorted to escapism. We always blame the Cameroon for releasing water from Lagdo Dam as the source of our flooding. But from the explanation given by the DG, which is a scientific and expert explanation, it appears that the one for this year is actually local rainfall in Nigeria more than the volume of water released from Lagdo Dam. For instance, any state down south will know that when there is a lot of rainfall, there will be flooding. Whether or not there is water from the Lagdo Dam through River Benue or not, I mean, this will happen. Why is it that every year we fail to prepare for this and then begin to throw our hands in the air and complain to everyone who cares to listen, call on governments to come to our aid and all of that? Why do we always do that?
Well, it's quite unfortunate. That is the situation we find ourselves. The farmers cannot help the issue. It's beyond their comprehension, right? Like as I said, such things happen in America, in Mississippi, and they introduce what they call levees that controls the tributaries. So if such things are not done, I don't see how these floods can be controlled. Apart from the Lapto Dam, the climate change is unpredictable. It's unpredictable. So the farmers are really, are worst hit. So
All right.
we are confounded. I'm telling you honestly speaking. We don't know what to do.
All right, let's go on a short break.
Yes.
And when we return, we'll continue our discussion here on people, politics, and power. All right, we're on the home stretch now as we discuss the flooding situation in Nigeria. My guest, Director General, Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency, Mr. Clement Nze, and Dr. Jones Ozuzo is a national president, Nigerian Commercial Farmers Association, and founding member of Farmers Association of Nigeria. Now, Dr. Nze, let's look at the impact of climate change. You just spoke about that a while ago. We need to begin to think of how to implement the policies and frameworks around climate change so that this perennial yearly flooding that we have come to live with, especially since 2010, the one of 2012 was very devastating. And 10 years after, 2022, we are facing with the same situation. It means that for a whole 10 years, it appears that no concrete steps were taken to avert what we are experiencing now. So what do we need to do in terms of implementing the climate change policies and the frameworks?
Thank you. We must commend Mr. President, General Muhammad Buhari, GCFR. He has endorsed all protocols with regards to climate change at the global level and to show political will to implement issues around climate change in Nigeria. A directorate has been established, even being held at a very high level, that Nigeria will not be left behind from the global community. So efforts are being made to domesticate all the outcomes of the decisions at the various fora. For instance, there was a meeting in Glasgow November last year or so, COP26, around climate change issues.
Which was to have taken place in 2020, but
yes,
because of COVID.
Yes. We also have one in Abidjan this year, COP15. That one dealing with the desertification issues. And then also COP27
is coming up
in Egypt. And there's a political will from the Nigerian side to ensure that Nigeria benefits from it. Nigeria participates very actively at a very highest level. Now, coming back home to Nigeria, we expect, you see, when certain decisions are being taken at the federal level, which has a cross-cutting implication across the whole land, it is expected that the sub-national should also run with the same vision to translate it to become a reality and affect the people positively. So all I can say there is this: climate change is a reality, that the things we need to do in order to adapt, because we talk about adaptation, mitigation, and resilience, developing resilience. Whatever we are doing should be tailored towards addressing the implications of climate change. It's no longer business as usual. For instance, in the way we build our houses, even the locals within the Niger Delta, you see how they build some of their houses. Government should also assist them. Like you raise a structure, go to those who have been to Netherlands, Aberdeen in Scotland. You can touch the water, but it can never overflow coming to your building. There's a way, kind of structure that are being built in order to be able to adapt to realities of the climate change. And then again, that takes me back to the issue of our being responsible enough to heed the warnings. God has given human beings a kind of understanding or wisdom to be able to probe into the future to see what is going to happen. And then when such information are released to the public, please, we expect that the relevant subnationals should be able to take appropriate precautions to save our environment, save our own lives. People are building houses. You come to Abuja, for instance, you see, we are having about 300 plots of land. This is a virgin land that has been existing harmoniously with itself, happy with itself. Animals are living there, all kinds of things. The land has been quite okay. Now, you want to bring in 350 houses into that environment. You didn't consider what is going to happen to nature that has been inhabiting this place, for instance, so to say. No provision is made for animals, no provision is made for flood or rainfall. And we are going to use roof, put interlock everywhere to appropriate most of the portions. Maybe, let me take it as an example, 100 by 100, 100 meter by 100 meters. You will build about 60%. The roof has taken over that one. And then the remaining 40%, you use interlock. So when the rain falls, where do you expect the runoff to go to?
Nowhere to go.
That will generate flooding, the overland flow. So we have to build something that is climate friendly. It has come to stay. There's nothing we can do about it. The climate change is already here with us. Even though, as we try to say, let us try to reduce the temperature to 1.5 degrees centigrade by that amount by so year to come. We do the best we can, but let us do the right thing right away, so as to save us and save the environment.
So adaptation is
very important. Key. Adaptation. We have to be able to adapt. Resilience. Government have to help the citizens. That after this cycle has come back, you should be able to go back to life again. Now, talking about what the federal government has been doing, today in 24 states, through the Presidential Committee on Flood Relief and Rehabilitation, which is co-chaired by Alhaji Aliko Dangote and Chief Olisa Abakoba San, 48 IDP hostels have been built with regard to flood in 24 states in Nigeria, 2 per state, that are critical when it comes to flooding. Furnished, like secondary school dormitories. Even clinics have been introduced. And the states have even been begged, the states, take ownership of this. When the flooding season subsides and people go back to their locations, why don't you use it to do your health clinic, primary health care? Employ nurses to be working there 24 hours. But some of them are left to rotting, and then at times people go and vandalize them. What the government has put on ground. Again, finally, on this, my agency, we have been rebuffed about 3 times. When we wrote to the state government, please, we are coming to tell you what we have predicted. We have printed posters in the dialect, made several arrangements, mobilized to move, sent our zonal coordinator, go and distribute this letter, invite these traditional rulers to come, give this money for them for their transport, because we know the locations. The chief executive, not the governor, please, in charge of such activity in the state, outrightly say, don't come. Somebody was there on ground with them. He said, we don't want you. And we left. I was to appear on one of the radio stations, FRCN. I said, one governor is coming. So when I got to know the governor, I went to the global document we prepared for flooding per state. I extracted that for that particular state, spirally bound it, came with 2 copies. And the governor took 8 to 10. This is a phone-in program, radio links, while I took 10 to 12. So there was an interval when he left the studio just before 10. We interacted, exchanged number. I said, this is for your state, please. We will still want to come and talk further on that. Just give us the hall. You can pay for the hall. We take care of ourselves as we come. All the calls you put across, they say, send the text. You call, send the text. They are not paying us to come there. We would sponsor ourselves to come, but it's our federal government, so to say. We will even spend maybe over 2 million naira within that particular locality because people will sleep in hotels. And we will do Django, we go around the marketplaces, the squares to show them what we are doing. But we were rebuffed. We didn't go.
And those same governors are now the ones shouting at the top of their
Correct.
voices and begging the federal government to come to their aid when they could have prevented what is happening now.
Yes. In fact, at a point, one of that person who said we shouldn't come, when the thing hit the state, I think that that job was under the purview of the deputy governor. The man came to calling me, VP is coming here tomorrow. VP is coming. They were in 2018. Some states were declared a state of emergency, about 12 states or thereabouts. So when the VP was coming there, our current vice president, this particular officer kept begging, please, my deputy governor is on my neck. What is coming from Lokoja, please, when will he reach here? What will I tell him? So these are some of the things, problems we do, challenges we do face with the subnationals.
Okay, Mr. Jones, Dr. Jones rather,
Yes.
let's look ahead now. Already the damage has been done, especially in terms of food resilience and security. What is the likelihood that in the months ahead that we could return to normal in terms of food production?
Well, what's
the essence of the damage now, and what steps need to be taken to repair the damage?
Yeah, to repair the damage, first of all, what we expect the government is to do the needful. We need dams. We need at least 20 dams within the river Niger and river Benue. We need them. And as I said earlier, we need levees. I keep on saying it. We need levees. Such thing that was done in Mississippi, in America. If it can be done here, we got it all.
Dams are quite expensive to construct.
Yes, we have to do it. We must do it. We must, if you go to borrow and do these dams once and for all, so that we will be okay. We will be okay. And the food shortage that we are expecting in 2003, I'm telling you, it will be marvelous. It will be marvelous. So the government must assist the farmers. We need at least in each state, we need dozers, we need tractors. Each state, we need about 50 tractors in each state. Otherwise, we will die of hunger in Nigeria.
So what we are experiencing now is a tip of the iceberg. You are saying that in 2023, it will be more severe.
Yes, it will. It will be food shortage, yes. Because our harvest is almost zero. Our expectation is almost zero. So what is it? And we don't import food again into Nigeria. All our rice farms gone. All our farm plantation gone. So what are we expected to do?
And even fisheries have been
all our fisheries are gone, unless the individual ponds we have, right? But the fish in the river, they are gone. They are gone. They are gone. So it's quite unfortunate. It's quite unfortunate. It's quite unfortunate.
All right. Mr. Nze, I'd like you to have the last word here. What would be your advice to all the critical stakeholders as far as the flooding is concerned? Governments and private organizations and individuals, because it's impacting everyone. There's no doubt about it.
Thank you so much. We are not completely out of the flood for now. I was talking to Cameroon authorities, but they didn't respond to me. Wanted to know, they told me they will stop on 14th of October to spilling water will stop on 14th of October. So I wanted to be sure. Have they stopped? That has been part of the challenge we do have. You know, they are the bride. So we need to try whatever we can do to bring them to our own side. So the flood, even if they stopped on 14th, they told me, the travel time down to Niger Delta might take up to 21 days. Much as a Lokoja, it is already receding. It's like, I think it's about around 12.24 or 12.21 meters today. At the peak of it was on the 4th of October, 13.22 on the 4th of October. 2012 was a 12.84 on September 29th, 2012. So this year's only exceeded it.
Exceeded, yeah.
So, but it's have been going down. It's about 12.21 today meters. It's a reference point after the convergence of the two rivers. So the impact will still be felt in terms of before it can go down, people could pack into their houses. And when it comes okay, the water has gone down, please, everyone should be careful before you enter because reptiles will be there. And the structure, the integrity of the buildings have been compromised by harboring that volume of water for quite some weeks. Again, I believe that there will be a paradigm shift. I believe so. We thought that happened with regard to the state actors this time around, that when we call on them, they will answer. When they are invited to come and discuss, come and look at what we have and see how you can help your state, and when they are given advices in writing, I believe strongly that they may heed it because it has been quite enormous this year. Maybe, hopefully I'm certain, before middle of February next year, NIMET will go on air again. And most likely in the month of March, my own agency, NISA, will come out with the flood prediction. So we believe strongly that there might be a paradigm shift by 2023.
It is hoped that will happen.
I believe so.
If it didn't change between 2012 and 2022, we are only hoping against
this
hope
year is
that
too much. This year is too much. I believe so. Because of this year's own, they will change. I believe so.
By which time new actors may actually be on the political scene anyway. Yes. So the hope that they would learn lessons from the past
yes.
will be there.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. Mr. Clement Nze is the Director General, Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency, NISA. Thank you for your time. And Dr. Jones Ozuzo is the National President, Nigerian Commercial Farmers Association, and founding member of Farmers Association of Nigeria. Thank you indeed for your time.
Thank you very much.
And to you, our viewers out there, we want to thank you immensely for investing your time with us. We look forward to being with you again when we bring you a fresh edition of People, Politics, and Power. And we advise, as you go out there, particularly those who are adversely affected by the ongoing flooding in very many parts of Nigeria, you need to heed the advice of the DG. Even as the water is receding, please, some of those buildings that were submerged may have been compromised, and there may also be reptiles, dangerous reptiles, in those buildings. So you need to be careful and you need to be very alert. Governments at every level need to be more proactive rather than being reactive than we are now at the moment. Thank you for your time. Bye for now.